Hi, my name is Marietta Mehanni, and this week's Aqua Tip we're using 2 dumbbells and the wall. So we're going to be using the wall today. Now, the wall can provide lots of different exercise options, but it can also change the way you perform exercises that you normally do out in the pool. And today's example is the rock and roll. So I've got my 2 dumbbells and I'm basically going to take my feet up onto the wall and then my dumbbells touch the wall. Feet onto the wall, dumbbells touch the wall. Now, this looks reasonably easy, but it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because if I don't have balance in the movement to the front and to the back, I'm going to end up moving back. So most people can pull back quite hard and then their feet do not touch the wall, and now I'm moving further and further away from the wall. So I need to balance that out. I usually like my participants to start where their knees are quite bent. They're not pushing off the wall, they're just tapping their feet to the wall, and they're keeping the dumbbells really close to either side of their body, and they're pulling and pushing forwards. Now, where am I feeling this the most? In my abdominals. It's fantastic for abdominal work, and when you've got people up alongside each other in close proximity, you won't get this open arm action, which I always discourage. It's very difficult when you take your arms out here to pull them back in, and if you have clients with shoulder issues, that's a little bit of a it's not comfortable, let's put it that way. So hands really close to either side of your body and you're pulling straight back. And the other thing I like about this is you end up in this seated position. You're not lying back, letting everything float, which is fantastic. So what you can do is you can do ones where you've got your feet together on the wall, and then you can do ones with your feet wide apart. Now I'm noticing I'm moving further away, so I'm now managing the intensity. And I'm pulling myself back in by pushing forwards harder, out. Then you can do one of each, so you can go 2 feet together, 2 feet wide, 2 feet together, 2 feet wide, and you can do a combination like that. All the time, I'm constantly measuring the intensity and trying to push forwards hard, which is actually really effective for getting the abdominals to work. So there's a classic exercise that we do out in the pool area, but using the wall changes it because people are measuring and assessing the intensity with their push and pull and making sure that it's at the same intensity. And that is this week's Aqua Tip. Demonstrating the rock and roll at the wall is very similar to the way you would demonstrate it normally. And the best way to demonstrate this, Russell's also a good student, is to use a chair. Now with the chair, what you do is you sit on the chair and then you allow yourself to come further forwards onto your hands. The way I teach this to my clients is they've got their dumbbells in their hands and I say make sure the wall is close to you to start with, so try not to go too far away from the wall. You're going to lift your feet up onto the wall, keep your knees slightly bent, so you don't want to be that far away from the wall, and then you're going to tuck yourself forwards, you're going to take your legs out, and you want to just gently tap the wall with the dumbbells, with your elbows still slightly bent, so you're not stretching all the way out. Then, and I'll put the dumbbells on the floor so I can tuck my feet under, then tap the wall with your knees bent. You want to just tap the wall with your toes and tap the wall with your dumbbells. And the reason for that is that people like to push off. And if they push off with their feet or they push off with their dumbbells, they're actually going to drift out to the pool. And the goal here is to get them to understand that their push and their pull needs to be of equal intensity, equal strength, right? So I get them to start small and then As they get more comfortable, I get them to go a little bit bigger so they can actually stretch their legs out a little bit further, touch the wall, and stretch their arms out a little bit further, of course, and touch the wall. But it does take a little bit of practice, this one. So I teach them bent elbows, bent knees on the wall, and there's just a very gentle tap, and I talk about the imaginary wall being here. Now, the way to demonstrate it is best side on to the class, rather than having the class in front of you and everyone looking at you here. Turn to yourself side on. Of course, people further down will see you side on, which means that you're going to have to keep turning your body around. But they can still see from the back, but you will need to spin around and demonstrate this more than once so everyone understands what to do. The other thing I like is that they stop here. So the dumbbell stops here. You need to do the same thing, but fortunately you're on a chair. So what I do is I brace my dumbbells against the chair to help me with getting my legs up, or I hold on to the back of the chair with my hands. It's a cool exercise because it makes them really concentrate. And for those of your clients that have done this exercise loads of times, this sort of brings that focus back in again. If you want to demonstrate the wide, it's not that hard. Of course, you hold on to the chair, you lift your legs out wide, so you open your legs out, and then you demonstrate how the feet come together behind the body. You place your knees on the floor to then gently tap the dumbbells to the imaginary wall in front of you. Great little exercise. It was one that I came up with years ago. It always throws a lot of my regular clients because they go, I'm drifting away from the wall. And I said, well, that's because your pull in is a lot stronger than your push out, which is actually where they're going to get most of the abdominal activation. The other thing I do is also encourage them to bring their dumbbells and see if they can keep them under the water as they tap the wall in front. I hope that you try this in the class. Whenever you do wall exercises, you actually need to have a bit more space unless you divide your class in half. This is actually a really good exercise to do in a circuit, or when you've got two lines of people and you've got one against the wall and perhaps one towards the lane rope. You know, when we're doing that sort of organized action, or if you've got partners, one person's doing these wall dumbbell rock and rolls and their partner's out in the pool doing something else, and they have to do, say, 20 of these where they actually touch the wall, and then they can swap over with their partner that's doing something else. So there's some ways that you can make it work if you don't have enough wall space to do this particular exercise. That's this week's Aqua Tip. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can get the weekly updates every week.